working with a long fish.
Yeah. That was a cool move. I see that you can slice well.
I can slice well.
Yeah. Design is everywhere. The furniture in your room, the mobile phone in your hands, your clothes, your car, your favorite coffee cup, your sunglasses, your house, your headphones. The list is endless. Everything you see around you has been carefully designed. As before it wasn't. Someone somewhere brought it to life with their imagination. And the design since has evolved over decades or even centuries to reach its current form and variety. The Nordic or Scandinavian design in general, and the Swedish design in particular, has created an international reputation for itself, for its elegance, functionality, and above all, its simplicity. Swedish brands like Ikea and H&M, which are household names today, at their very core are design companies, one could argue. These companies have mastered the art and business of producing design at scale. Indeed, some of the biggest companies in the world, like Apple and now Tesla, are as much design companies as they are technology companies. Someone rightly said that the fight of design is the fight against ugliness. A good design can make life easier and more beautiful. The value of good design goes beyond just functionality. It informs our sensibilities, and when done right, it can promote a sense of harmony in our lives. Just as the right cup can make your morning tea or coffee taste at least 10% better, if not more, and forms the centerpiece of your morning routine. And therefore you refuse to accept any other cup than your own. In this episode of Quirk, we will visit a Japanese knife shop in Sedoma. The Japanese culture again is famous for the great care it takes in building everything with an acute sense of care and beautiful characteristic Japanese aesthetic. The shop itself is somewhat hidden in plain sight, close to Medborgarplatsen or the Citizen Square. So see you there. For somebody who knows nothing about knives, can you just do a bit of a tour as to...
In this store, we only sell Japanese knives.
Yeah.
And the main difference between the Japanese knives and the Western knives are the way they're forged. A Japanese knife is usually a lot thinner in its blade. So a Western knife would be a bit thicker, whilst the Japanese is quite thin.
Right.
And they do also have a tendency to make knives for every single purpose. So you have your chef's knife,
right.
You have your slicer, your vegetable knife, and your petty knife.
These are the standard 4 knives in different models?
Exactly. I would say those are pretty much the standard 4 knives.
Yeah.
But they also have some very specific ones, like the eel knife.
Eel is like a seafood, or
it's a type of fish.
What about it? Is it like elastic or something? Why does it require a different knife?
Well, I believe that they choose to make this sort of knife, which looks kind of like the usuba knife, which is a vegetable knife actually, but in a combination with a deba knife, which is specifically for fish.
These are Japanese words, usuba and deba.
Exactly.
Yeah. You only speak knife Japanese, or can you speak Japanese?
I actually only speak knife Japanese, as you call it. I wish I could speak more, but I only know a couple of words, sadly.
And how did you get into sharpening?
So, it kind of came with the job, but I did find it very harmonizing in a way, because you can only focus on that, and you want to make sure that each knife you sharpen creates a perfect edge. So
there's some flow to it.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes I describe it as a bit of a zen,
Zen,
it's very harmony-like, and you just focus on sharpening the knife and getting the best result possible.
But the technique of sharpening, etc., that you went to some sort of professional school in Stockholm.
Yes. Yeah. So I was actually taught by a gentleman who went to Japan for professional.
In a Swedish school?
Actually not. He went to Japan I don't remember which year, but he was there learning how to sharpen properly, like traditional Japanese style. And then he took it back to Sweden, and then he actually taught me. But the main thing, because there are a lot of different ways to sharpen a knife, but the main thing is the whetstones.
Right.
The thing with whetstones compared to other sharpening materials, like a honing steel, which you can use, is that they give definitely the best results.
Right.
And
do you want to do a few strokes of sharpening?
Yeah, sure. So I have a test knife, and the basic principle is that you want to lay your knife on the stone, tilt it up just slightly, especially with the Japanese knives. You want to keep it quite flat, and then you want to make sure that you go and sharpen the entire bevel. So I usually start here in the back,
right,
add some pressure with my other hand, and then I go back and forth.
Right.
So right now I'm actually sharpening on a medium stone.
Yeah.
And if this was an actual knife that I wanted to get really, really nice, I would go up to the fine stone and then use a strap. But as you can see, I'm working my way towards the tip of the knife, and then I'm working my way back.
Okay. Is there a risk of injuring yourself?
I mean, there's always a risk of injuring yourself when you're holding a knife, but once you've done this for a very long time, you
get better.
Yeah.
Have you had some like bad ones?
In the beginning,
small scratches or like deeper cuts?
For the most part, small scratches. Sometimes when you're sharpening on a coarse stone, you actually you got to be careful with your fingers as well, because you risk sharpening off.
With the stone, not with the knife.
Sharpening off your own skin with the stone.
Yeah, okay, that's not bad. But there's no protective equipment for your fingers that you can use.
No, the thing is, you could use gloves, but you really want the feel.
You want to feel the knife.
And you want to feel how the knife reacts to the sharpening and how the bevel feels.
Yeah.
And it's something that you, once you get into sharpening, you learn more. The knives in this store begin around here for some quite plain but very, very nice tools, traditional Japanese style knives.
What's the difference between an expensive and a cheap one? Is it the base material or is it the knife edge?
So both. They differ quite a lot in the steel. Also, the handle varies from quite basic.
It's the feel of it, or what is it?
Exactly.
Can I?
Yeah, sure.
This is a bit lighter, I'm guessing. Yeah. You want like a. If you're more artisan about it, you probably want a thicker one. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No, also they range from being large scale produce to being very, very limited ones. We have also knives that go up towards 10,000 crowns.
Yeah. Okay. So 10,000 crowns is like 1,000 euros, $1,000 roughly.
So they range from everything between 300.
Can I touch that one?
Sure.
Yeah.
To 10,000.
This is really heavy.
Yeah. And that being the best sort of steel, and it's forged in multiple layers, as you can see.
Is it the craft on this as well that kind of bumps up the price?
Yes, exactly. So not only is it the best materials, but it's done by one of the most famous.
Made by hand, not in a factory.
Made by hand, all the way through.
Yeah. In a knife set, the most expensive knife would be the meat one, or which one would it be?
I would say either the chef's knife or the slicer, because for the most part you pay. The length of the knife corresponds to the price. So longer knives cost
the length. More. Okay, because a lot for this. I mean, this was very fun. All right, thank you.